Hello, welcome back to the living room. Thank you so much for dropping in. Today I thought we'd do a quick update on 2 of my wish list orchids and then 3 orchids that I got at the same time. The 2 wish list orchids were from Big Leaf Orchids, and Phil over there has great customer service, as does Yoshi over at Orchids by the Lake. So go check them out. No sponsorship, just so you guys know. And if you want to see what they look like prior to looking at them right now, the video is linked in the description below. I got these back in April of 2023, April 15th to be exact. And oh my, the growth. Let's just look at it. Let's just get straight to the point. This here, I'm going to move her back. Pot right there. Little Miss Sweet Memory here has been sitting by an east-facing window with a Barina light kind of dappled over her. Her spike was trying, as you can kind of see the bending. See how it's all kind of bent? She was trying to go behind herself, and I had to stop it. So that's why we have this little bend here, because she was trying to go into that window, and I wanted her facing the living room. But look at how much this leaf has grown in, what is it, 2.5 months? It is currently end of June, so about 2.5 months. Look at that. My goodness, just taken off. And the spike, which was about right here, look how much it's extended out. And we do have, let's see if I can do it where it's not such a glare on there, but we do have some budding happening there. So we should see a bloom probably in another week or 2 or 3. The thing with your polychilus, they take forever to bloom once you see those buds, even longer than your hybrids. Now, I did end up taking her out of the moss that she was in as far as the pot. I did loosen the moss a little bit, set her into this setup here, which is all moss with some perlite and charcoal inside. And her roots have continued to grow, as well as, like we see, that beautiful leaf and that spike. So I'm going to set her back over here because this is kind of where she lives. And normally I have, move my Sherry Baby's leaf there. There we go. Normally I have this piece of cardboard right here. And the purpose of that is to keep her to go into the direction that I want her to go, this way. The other one that I got from Big Leaf Orchids, which also wish list orchid, is my Phalaenopsis gigantea. Again, I have read that these are slow growers, but look at what she's done in 2.5 months. This leaf was just peeking up out of the apex when I received her in April, and look how much it has grown. Now, initially, while I was getting her acclimated, she was sitting kind of in more subdued lighting. Now she sits on the bottom of my large shelving unit, kind of in the back corner under a Barina light, but she's not under the light. The light is like right here. But look at that. She too is in all moss, perlite, and some charcoal. And look at that. Oh my goodness. Now what I do with both of these is I wait until just as this moss is drying out. And the way I determine that is these large holes under here, I can just kind of stick my finger in there and feel the moss. And this moss is still pretty damp, feels wet but not soaked. And once I start feeling it kind of a little more on the drier side, still damp, but more on the drier side, that's when I take and I just set her in some water. I let the water absorb to about right here, and then I take her out and I drain her for a good 20-30 minutes to make sure I don't have a lot of excess water hanging out in there. But at the same time, and the inside of this mask is stained. It's not dirty, it's just stained. But I do keep rock as well, so that if there is still excess water after I soak her and drain her, it sits at the bottom. It doesn't sit, she's not sitting in water, is what I'm trying to say. Now there are some slow release fertilizer beads in here. I still fertilize with the MSU when I do water. Both of the Phalaenopsis, the Sweet Memory, and the Gigantea get 150 parts per million. Now, let's see. Let me move. I'm just going to move you over here. Nope, I'll knock it over. I'm going to set her down here by my feet up under the tripod, and hopefully we don't damage her. Now, these are the 3 that I got from Yoshi, and I want to start off with the Pink Profusion. This is the one that he was holding for me for a while, and then I just added these. I was like, well, he's holding them anyway. May as well just, as I see things, add to my order, right? It's what we do. Now this one is, again, the Oncidium Twinkle Pink Profusion, and she is variegated, so you can see a little bit of the variegation on this leaf right here, hopefully. She sits under a Barina light, again, on the outside part of the shelf, so the Barina light is basically right here. She's not showing much variegation on her new growth here. Like, she's got a little bit on the tip of this one. She's got a little bit on the tip of this one. So I think that as she matures, that variegation will get a little bit stronger because she is young. And she has this lovely new leaf growth here. And again, if I can get pictures of what they looked like prior to them in their little setups. Now this one is in a moss and bark layered setup, simply because as a twinkle, they are very heavy drinkers and they do like to stay damp. Shit, I could not keep up with her in her bark setup, so this is why she is in here. And again, we have some leca, old leca and pebbles and stuff at the bottom to help with drainage in the event that I leave water, to keep her from sitting in water. And then we have Miss Spotty, the one with the beautiful spotty flowers. I mean, this orchid could not have been named better. You know how sometimes some orchids, the names, you're like, where'd you get that from? It's like a bright yellow flower, and then they call it like pink sunshine, and you're like, well, where do you get pink sunshine out of a bright yellow flower? That's kind of what I'm talking about when I'm saying that this one was perfectly named Spotty. So she does have, it's going to be hard to show you guys, but she has a new growth trying right down here. And then she has this, let's see if we can get it, my big fat fingers out of the way. Let's see, let's do it this way. But she has that lovely growth right there that she's working on. I'm waiting for her to get a little bit bigger so that I can take this part of the fan off, so that her roots, when she starts growing them, will start going down into the pot and not become aerial. In future, I don't care if she has a bunch of aerial roots, but right now, because I want her to focus on getting some roots into the pot, that's why I want to do that. And I do have a rock back here to kind of help support her so that I'm not, as I'm picking her up and down, because she sits on this table in the front, right in front of this east-facing window. And as I'm reaching over to pick her up, I don't want it flopping around until she gets a little more established. But she does have some roots going down in that pot. And she is in a bark and perlite and moss mixture, heavy on the moss. And as you can see, this moss does need to be dampened. It is at the point of almost dry. And the reason I know it is almost dry is because I know the weight of this when it's wet, even with the rocks in there, because the rocks do add some weight. Then we have Miss Oncidium Twinkle Oro. This is the one that had the beautiful yellow flower, or flowers, and she was in all bark. I was not. And when I say not, I could not keep up with her watering. If you can kind of see right here on this leaf here, there's some constantining on these two. I was like, nope, I got to do something. So she is in a small Orchiata Bark, perlite, and moss mixture, which you can get all of these products to include the pot at the Orchid Supply Store. If you decide to go purchase, use coupon code TRISH at checkout, 12% off. Does ship free here in the United States. However, if you are an international shopper, you will incur a shipping fee. Since putting her in here at the beginning of June, so I got them in April, I put her in here at the beginning of June, she has shot out so much new growth. Or the new growth was already there and just didn't have space because she was in a 4-inch square pot. But look at all that growth. And this right here, senescing, is coming off of an old growth, so I'm not real concerned about that. The thing I am most proud of is there is no browning on the tips, which in my experience, I have 2 other twinkles that if I don't keep up with their watering and they dry out too long, they get a little bit of brown tip dieback. Shoo. I think that for 2.5 months, everyone is doing perfectly well, especially my slow-growing gigantea with this leaf. I'm considering the type of setup I want to use for this. I have some ideas in my head. Eventually, she will be a hanging orchid. I will be hanging her. I just have to get the setup that will work best for her so I don't disturb her any more than I have to every few years. It'll be an easier transition, changing out media, as well as where I'm going to hang her. Because once I find that spot and once I find the right setup, she's pretty much going to stay where she is. Because go look this girl up on the interwebs. You're going to see like the leaves can get to be 1 to 2 feet long. They're huge. And I'm excited to see that. Let me know if you have any of these lovely ladies, especially Le Gigantea. And how do you grow yours? Like, what is the optimal growing for you? Again, remember, I grow in my home, primarily in the living room. Average humidity is really 30%. Sometimes it can get higher depending on the windows opening and the weather outside, but on average, it's about 30, maybe 40% on the higher side. And I would prefer to grow her in moss. However, if you found a better media that works for the lady, let me know. And you guys have a beautiful day, and we'll look at these ladies again in a few months.